As promised, we welcome the Executive Vice President of the OWTU. We welcome on the Zoom line this morning, Reesa, Ramlogan, Jodha. It's been quite a while since we had our conversation, and I want to welcome you again. Thanks for the time, and I look forward to some perspective concerning this increase and at least what's the mandate and the push from the OWTU. Good morning to you, Reesa.
Hi, good morning to you, DW. Good morning to Trinidad and Tobago, and it's indeed a pleasure being here once more.
Well, I want to start things off. I want to bowl the first ball. It might be a Yorker, but I want to bring it same way because I know you're an experienced batswoman when it comes to these issues. The RIC, some of them came last week, and we were talking about this rate increase, and they're going to do the consultation and move around the country. But the reality is, and I understand, and I'm not one to advocate or to jump up and celebrate if prices are going up in any regard. But we have had favorable rates for many years, Reesa. That's a reality that you know, I know, we have all enjoyed probably the best rates in the in the English-speaking Caribbean. And from what I understand, even with the increase, it will still be favorable compared to some of our counterparts in places like Barbados and Jamaica. Are we entitled, Reesa? Are we now coming out of this feeling of entitlement and recognizing the reality of the world and what's going on, and I guess raising a red flag because of that?
All right. So let me first say that there is a reason why the rates would have been what it would have been over the years, particularly among the commercial and industrial customers. And that is because the savings with regards to what was being paid in electricity rates was supposed to be passed on to customers, passed on in regards as it concerns, you know, the provision of jobs and savings in production and that sort of thing that was supposed to be passed on to the customers. And that hasn't, quite frankly, that hasn't been taking place. Because if we look over the years, we would see that there has been a continuous increase in the cost of living, and the customers really and truly, they were not benefiting. So that is why the union's position at this point in time is that there should be consideration among the residential customers, particularly because, quite frankly, the multinationals who would have set up businesses within Trinidad and those large businesses, they make sufficient profits to be able to afford the electricity rates and even an increase. And the union is one who would have been saying for quite some time that there needs to be a rate review, because what was the purpose and intent of the rates which would have existed, which is, as I would have described, savings to the customer that wasn't being passed on. And that being the case, then a rate review would have been necessary to ensure that businesses now pay what is supposed to be paid in electricity rates.
Interesting, because I'm watching here that, well, what they suggested is going to be a tier system, and it's going to be a 15 to 64% based on consumption. And let's be real also, Reesa, I think many of us, based on the new reality, would have to be very responsible, and the wastage that took place over the years where you're leaving the AC on because you want to come back to a room that's cool and the TV just on, nobody's watching it. All these kind of bad practices, based on what's going to happen here, I would imagine, be something of the past.
All right. So I think first we need to understand, in the context of the conversation, what really is electricity. And electricity is a very important and essential service to society as a whole. It is a service that is connected directly to our welfare and our well-being, in the sense that, Jason, it is necessary to protect our basic human right to life. And I say that because obviously you need electricity to be able to get access to adequate housing, adequate education, healthcare, etc. So it is a derived right, and the issue of a rate increase, particularly among the residential customers, it has the ability to negatively impact that right. And as a union, we believe that there are fundamental issues that are to be addressed, not only identified, but issues that are to be addressed before implementing a rate increase, if that is what indeed the rate review would have revealed, among the residential customers particularly. And the issues that the union is referring to, it surrounds the issue of the power purchase agreement, which in itself is one that is onerous, between the power producers, namely PowerGen, Trinidad Generation Unlimited, and Trinity Power, and also the issue of T&Tec's receivables. And those two areas, which really and truly the public may not necessarily be aware of, are areas that have to be firstly addressed, or else we are just going to make a bad situation worse, to be quite frank.
I'm watching even the suggestion that the bill cycle will now be a monthly, because I used to look forward to every 2 months, you know, I would go down and stuff, but I'm saying, oh gosh, but as our next monthly bill is like, you know, that to me was a bit concerning. But again, all these are just suggestions at this point in time. I guess it's not fixed in stone. What's the union's position on that monthly bill cycle?
Well, a monthly bill, for some, it may be more manageable in the sense that it allows you to better budget, to be able to factor in now your electricity bill. Because, I mean, over 2 months, while there would be an increase, it would be a lesser amount which would now have to come out of your pocket on a monthly basis. But the challenge in there is that if you don't pay your bill within that period, then it makes it now easier for you to be disconnected. Because whereas in the past you would have had a 2-month period to kind of, you know, find the finances somewhere to be able to foot that bill, you now have to do that on a monthly basis. So while it may be a benefit to some, a benefit in the sense that it makes it more manageable with regards to budgeting, it may also prove to be a challenge. And I'm saying that also, Jason, because as a people, we are still trying to get over the effects of what would have been brought upon us as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic. The economic hardships that we would have been plunged into, it is still real. People are still losing their jobs. People are still living life daily uncertain as to how they're going to support their families. And now to have to face, you know, the potential of an increase in electricity rates, which is an essential service, it is frightening to some, and it is really a cause for concern. And as a union, we really believe that if the issues that I would have just identified, if those issues are addressed, then there may not be a need for a rate increase among the residential customers at this point in time. The timing seems to be very off. It doesn't seem to be the right time, considering that we are still trying to get over what would have been plunged upon us, what would have been plunged into as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic.
Indeed.
And Jason, if I may, I think just to I mean, we are aware, the union is aware that there are a number of public consultations that have to take place. And one of the things that we are attempting to do prior to these consultations is to sensitize the public in advance so that they can put the necessary questions out there when they attend these forums, right? And one of the things that we have to remember as a people, a lot of people don't remember it, is that T&Tec was once upon a time a fully integrated company, meaning that T&Tec would have been responsible for generation, distribution, and transmission of electricity. And via a policy arrangement through the government, that was changed, that arrangement was changed, and the generation aspect would have been given to multinationals via a partnership arrangement. And this, of course, would have seen multinationals going away with the chunk of the profit, while T&Tec would have been left to scramble for its survival.
Just juggle our memory. Around what time that took place, that particular decision was made? Under whose administration? What particular year that took place?
I think it would have been somewhere around 1994, somewhere around that time.
Okay.
Yes, and the key factors in there is, with that power purchase agreement, is that you have a situation where, one, T&Tec pays NGC. Now, natural gas is what we primarily use to generate electricity, right? T&Tec pays for natural gas from NGC, which is used by the power producers to generate electricity. T&Tec then has to pay again to the power producers to be able to get the electricity to distribute throughout Trinidad and Tobago to its customers. And to further add to that, T&Tec has to continuously pay a sum which does not necessarily reflect the usage or the amount that is being used by T&Tec to distribute throughout the country. So in essence, what you find happening is that T&Tec pays for, let's use a figure here, 100% of electricity, but only utilizes 80% or 75% or whatever have you. But yet still we pay for 100%. Now that could never be economically wise.
Well, let me ask you.
And in addition to that, it can never be fair to the citizenry of this country. Because what is being proposed at this point in time is that T&Tec is unable to sustain itself, and as a result, a rate increase is needed. But if we address these issues that exist internally, then we wouldn't have to pass these hardships on to the citizenry. And in addition to that, there is the issue of the receivables. You have T&Tec being owed $1.7 billion, thereabout. Out of that $1.7 billion, 1.4 is owed by the government and government agencies. What is the plan to be able to recover this money that is owed to T&Tec? What would have been circulated thus far doesn't capture the manner in which T&Tec intends to recover these finances to be able to put itself in a sustainable position. That has to be made known to the public.
Okay.
And Jason, if I take you back to the Joint Select Committee meeting, I think it was back in 2019 sometime, the Commission would have identified to the committee a number of avenues that they were going to explore to be able to, do recovery.
To recoup.
That's correct. But from residential customers. What would have been identified where the debt owed by the government is concerned would have been a one-liner, which is T&Tec continues to have discussions with government and government agencies. That is inadequate. It is woefully inadequate, because at the end of the day, there has to be a focused plan to be able to recover this debt. Because if we go to now increase the rates and the government is still not paying its bills, then you're going to have an increased debt owed to T&Tec. And how is that going to benefit T&Tec as an entity?
Well, Reesa, I guess that's why the OWTU president would have mentioned that, well, he basically called T&Tec's operations inefficient. These are his words. He spoke about bad government policies. You would have mentioned some of that earlier. Correct. And he says that it's going to lead to ordinary people having to bear the brunt of I guess, these said policies. But again, what you explained there in that intimate way, you really give a deep perspective. But the average customer wants to ensure that when they press their switch, the light is on. When they put the fan on, they could get a little cool breeze in the night. They could go in the fridge and get a cool drink. And I guess with the increase coming, and from what the RIC they're suggesting, it's not nothing major. Again, they said it's going to be a tier system. A matter of fact, they're going to start their conversations. It started last week, I believe, with TAP, with the retirees who will be living on a fixed income because of their pension. So I think from what I'm just trying to balance it here, because they're trying to obviously have these consultations and really massage this very delicate and sensitive issue. But I go back to my original question. We, as far as I'm concerned, we were entitled for a long time. And I'm thinking now the reality of the world is coming to Trinidad and Tobago, and we're recognizing for the first time in a long time what the real rates are when it comes to some of these amenities.
All right, and what the union's position is that while we agree that there was a call for rate review and there may be a need for a rate increase, the question lies in whether or not the Commission would have addressed all of its internal challenges prior to the proposal that is being made for the rate increase. And that is not the case. That is definitely not the case. And the timing of it seems it's not right.
The timing bell burst there, because as you said, people now coming out and catching themselves after the 2-year lockdown. Huh?
You see, JW, the people are not the ones who make these bad policy decisions, but yet still, the people are the ones who are affected as a result of the bad policy decisions. And at the end of the day, the intention was never for the organization to be one which results in a huge profit at the end of the day. That was never the intent. It is supposed to be a commodity that is being given, that is being made available to the public at affordable costs. And quite frankly, that is not going to be the situation. You just spoke about being able to open your fridge and get a cold drink. We might now be in a position where we might have to open a cooler and get a cold drink, because I don't think at this point in time...
In a cooler fat, not at home?
At home, sir.
At home?
And we mightn't be able to switch our AC, to switch on the AC. No, we may have to open the windows. Wow. But the crime situation and all doesn't even allow for that to happen at this point in time. Yeah. So if we're saying that we want to save in our electricity bills, okay, so let us not use the AC units. Let us open the windows like we used to long ago. I can remember that growing up in the countryside, we would open our windows, get fresh, nice, cool breeze at night.
Window and door.
They can't do that anymore. You have to keep it closed and fully burglar-proofed because of the situation that we are faced with regards to crime. So we have to take all those things into consideration. Long ago, you would find families going out, taking trips, that kind of thing, minimizing the number of time that is spent at home, where you would have to, increase your usage. But in the times that we are faced with at this prayer now, the crime situation, people are afraid to leave their homes. They choose to remain in the comfort of their homes. But how is that now going to be possible? I mean, the comfort of it, if we are to be faced with these increasing rates. And I must say, what I found to be very insultive to the citizenry is the fact that citizens are being told that they should walk with their bills so that, they can get an explanation as to how this rate is not going to be drastic and it could be affordable. You're saying that, but you don't understand the pockets of the individuals that you're treating with. People barely making a living as it stands right now. So for you, a $200 or $300 increase may seem insignificant. But to me, it may very well mean me sacrificing my children's lessons to be able to foot that bill, me sacrificing some of, the food items that I would normally provide. We might have to go back to eating chicken once a week, as opposed to 2 and 3 times a week. So the sacrifices that would have to be made may very well take us backwards rather than, assist with progress as it is.
Well, Reesa, I want to tell you thanks, because you were able to really walk us through some of the policies from since the 90s. You gave us the NGC dynamic and the whole cycle of I guess, the chain of command and business, as it were. I mean, let's see how things go. I mean, you're lending your voice to the serious issue here. They're going around with their consultations. And as I spoke to them last week, I said, when they get the feedback, what will be the mandate? And, well, we'll have to find out. So I'm sure, Reesa, we will be talking soon. Thank you for the time this morning. And as you say, let's... I'm hoping you don't go back to the cooler, I hope if I open a cooler, it's in a cooler fit to get a cold drink. But, oh, my goodness.
Well, let's see. But in closing, let me just say that I hope that the consultations are genuine. And I want to also remind the public that an increase in commercial rates will ultimately result in an increase to customers as well, where payments are concerned. Yeah. So that will be like a double whammy for residential customers. Yeah. So Jason, let's make the best use of, I would advise the public that we make best use of the forums and come out and really allow our voices to be heard.
Reesa, Ramlogan, Jodha, thank you this morning. We will touch base soon.
Yeah.
We take a break. We come back and get into some more details, ways to contact the team as we work to the 7 o'clock news update. See you soon.